Just because I'm telling you this story doesn't mean I'm alive at the end of it. It's that kind of a story where things just got so out of control.
There's a great moment in the movie where Chong pretty much tells Ben, look, if we're gonna go in this, if we're gonna do this, you need to accept. I think the phrase was, you need to accept that you were dead the moment you were born.
Yeah.
If you're gonna come into this, if you're gonna be an actor, what is the hardest thing that you're gonna have to accept?
You're gonna fall, mate. You're gonna fail, and it's not all gonna be high times. And that's my experience, you know. There's lows and highs, so be ready for that, and you better be willing to give everything you've got for it.
You won't always have the opportunity to give your best foot forward. That it does depend on the writing and the directing and the quality of the project to give your best foot forward, and that sometimes you're going to be trying your best, but you know, if it's not the greatest material to begin with, then you have to accept that it may not always work out that way for you. And this is one of those situations where for all of us, it was great writing, great directing, and it works out for you, do you know?
I think ultimately you always go on your gut, your instincts probably speak more than anything. And then if you're passionate about it, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, because as long as you believed in it from the beginning, or you had a strong sense or an idea of what you wanted to get out in the end, then you can't ever regret what your actions were. But yeah, like you said, yeah, you can never tell. And it's,
there's so many variables that are out of your control as well. And just to be able to really, the things that you do have control over is just to give it everything you got. And that's like you said, you don't have regrets in that sense of what you have control over.
It's a collaborative art, you know, film and stage acting.
yeah.
It's not like writing where you're a solo artist, you know. You have to
It doesn't depend on one person.
I mean, look at the scenes. We're three guys in a car, and we all have to depend on each other's choices.
Yep.
So they have to make sure that I get mad enough at them to justify hurting me. And yet if I don't, then how do they do it? I have to make sure that they do enough for me to motivate my upset. I mean, you're really giving each other the control of your fate to some degree. So it's collaborative, and that's hard to predict, you know.
Yes, sir.
But also with all that, it's such a high when you do hit
absolutely.
that. When you know, like, what I know personally, I left that day. That was a long day, but obviously well worth it. And you leave that Jeep, and you're like, I don't care how you cut that fucking scene. It's gonna be a legit scene, man.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a good thing. That's a great feeling to walk away.
The reason I love your character so much is because they have to do a lot of tough things, but each thing that they have to do is completely justified. Your wife is dying, your girlfriend has been taken. So thinking about in all the past roles you've had, all the tough things you've had to justify a character doing, which action was the hardest to try to wrap your head around and try to justify doing on camera?
I think the thing with us we most talked about was that relationship with O, of making that work, making that believable, and understanding why each of us are involved the way we are. That was probably the biggest thing for us.
You gotta jump straight into that dynamic and really believe this kind of three-way love triangle and the trust. You gotta build that real strong, because it's a matter of time that you're gonna jump onto the exactly, because then you're going on the ride. And you gotta jump into that and believe into that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was the duplicity. I mean, the idea that he's taking from everyone and using the government as a cover was really hard for me to get behind, because I didn't. I mean, I understood his justifiers, but I really had to get to know what a DEA agent was capable of, and what one that was not up to good intentions was just how he was working in his mind. So that combination was hard for me.
Right.
But you know, I just went for it. I said he's a dick, and I'm going full throttle, playing a dick, and it made it funny, because the one thing I do as an actor, once I understand what I'm playing, I commit it hook, line, and sinker. So once I understood the character, it was no longer uncomfortable for me to play. I just said, you know, screw it. I'm this guy, and he does really bad things to a lot of people, and he justifies it because he thinks they're all bad too. But he's also, you know, doing bad things to his own government in the guise of a lot of things, protecting his family, whatever. But you know, it was fun to just commit to.
Every successful business has an origin. Ben went to Berkeley and double majored in business and botany.
This is the best cannabis in the world.
I think we just struck gold.
He takes 99% of the violence out of the business. The other 1%, well, that's where Tron comes in.
You guys, you have a clean business, but now with cartels are moving north. They want a Ben and John section in aisle 3.
I love you guys.
It's the three of us now.
And yes, I'm with both of them.
I heard a few weeks ago that you were at a gun range preparing for the film, and like the first 3 shots that you fired off hit the middle, like hit the bullseye, right? Which I thought that was awesome. So that kind of led me to want to ask, what is a past role that you ladies have had that brought out something in you that you didn't know that you had?
Frida.
Excellent. What did that bring out?
I didn't know I could paint.
Really?
Because I cannot draw. But it turns out I can paint.
I didn't know that you could really do one without the other.
I didn't either. I didn't either. Maybe I cannot even do it anymore. But while I was doing that, I could paint. The paintings in the movie I did.
Do you know like where those are? Like, does someone own those?
I have some.
Excellent.
And I don't know where the other ones are.
Someone's got some good stuff hanging on their wall right now.
Mine is nowhere near as attractive. I can drive a tractor. Pretty well.
In Texas, that would go over huge. That's a big deal.
Right?
In Texas,
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I got on a tractor, and they were like, wow, you've never done this before? I come from a family of farmers.
Right.
My family's from Georgia. So
it's in your DNA.
Yeah, it was in my DNA. I got on it, and it was...
What role was that required you?
A movie called Elvis and Annabelle.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. There's nothing more impressive than now, like, painting while driving a tractor. That would have been incredible. Now, I gotta say, as like hardcore and cool and gritty as this movie is, one of the great themes is the idea of sacrificing yourself for someone else, for someone else's greater good. So thinking about all the people that have made sacrifices for you ladies to be here, who is the one person that's made the biggest sacrifice for you to be sitting here right now?
For me, I feel a big sacrifice is my little daughter, because of course they're small and they want to spend all the time with you, and also my husband, you know, who's so understanding and so supportive of me working. But I'm sure my parents too, you know, have had to do. Usually it's family that makes the most sacrifices.
Yeah. It's her family. I mean, you know, if I look back in the line of my family and see like where my mom was and then where I am today, that's really amazing. You know, that that within one generation somebody can accomplish so much to where I could be sitting here with you guys.
Yeah, the people that make the sacrifices are usually the most understanding, which is pretty awesome.
But it's nice that, you know, other people make the sacrifices and then you're able to receive the reward, and yet they love that more than if they received it, and that's love.
Absolutely. Now,
and they taught you how to sacrifice yourself.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
exactly.
Yeah, you give it back.
Now, Oliver Stone is one of my favorite directors of all time. I think he has one of like the coolest, most signature styles, and you guys have been in a lot of stuff that I've loved in the past. So I was going to run through some of my favorite stuff that you've done, and you tell me what that project would have been like if Oliver Stone had directed it. So I thought this could be kind of fun.
Okay.
So Oliver Stone directs Puss in Boots.
Well, it would have been a lot more violence. Maybe somebody would have made a carpet out of cat fur, for sure.
Right.
And the title might have changed a little bit.
Yeah. A little bit. A little bit.
I don't know. The title's pretty good.
Oliver Stone directs an episode of Gossip Girl.
Oh wow! I actually would love to see Oliver direct an episode of Gossip Girl. We would all shoot each other. We'd be dead. There'd be nowhere to go. We'd all come back as ghosts.
It is your methods we want to partner with. We're not going to join you. Nothing personal.
I'm afraid our client would take this very personally.
They must be taught respect. I found their weakness.
God. I'd take the deal instead of decapitation.
Get your car, girl, and I will do anything to get her back. You stabbed a federal agent!
I have to tell you, one of the things I thought was fascinating, especially about the title, is the fact that at one point the kids call the cartel savages, at one point the cartel call the kids savages, so depending on the perspective, different people are the savages. From an actor's perspective, who are the savages in this world?
I think one of the key points about all this...
It could be, from the point of view of an actor, where it could be, there's many savages for the actor. It could be the producer, it could be the director, it could be the fellow actor.
Pretty savage too,
you know.
right? Yeah.
It could be, you could encounter all kinds of savages on the movie set.
But the great point about all this is that we all savages. We all are. And you as an audience realize when you exit a movie theater that you're probably a savage too in your own bubble. If you don't care for anybody else's well-being, if we only care for ourselves, then we are savages.
And I have to say, one of the things I loved is that these two men who work in the cartel are, in a way, sort of terrified of Selma's character, which I thought was just kind of a fun little aspect of their character. Which woman in your life are you most terrified of?
Her.
She,
Salma. Yeah, I'm still terrified, man.
What's the scariest thing about Salma?
Her beauty.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, man.
I was just in that room, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
She's also, she could pack a slap.
Now, Mr. Del Toro, one of the things I want to talk about I thought was interesting, I wanted to compare this character to your character from Traffic, because while these two characters are on different side of a drug war, at their final scenes in each of their respective movies end with them at a Little League baseball game.
And it was like, you know, it's kind of eerie, that's a fact. But you know, they're one spectrum to the other, you know, and they're different movies. But they're both in the same world, and one is on one side and the other one is on another side. I don't know how other way, but the baseball game in both films are completely different. Mm-hmm. In Traffic, I think, is kind of like dark, and in Savages, I think is a different kind of like, it's a scarier one. Mm-hmm. This is maybe sad versus like, you know, the monster is loose, right, kind of thing.
7 of my men dead?
I told you they'd come for me.
Stop. Let me remind you that if I had to, I wouldn't have a problem cutting both their throats. There's something wrong with your love story, baby.
You let people think you're weak. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to kill them.
I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, but I was doing my journalistic duty and doing some research, and I found out that in 1968, when you came back from Vietnam 1 week, you were busted at the U.S.-Mexico border trying to bring in Vietnamese pot. And they threw you in San Diego County, and that was the first time you ever heard the phrase, the war on drugs. 44 years later, how has the meaning of that phrase changed to you, or has it changed at all?
It's gotten bigger and much more money and many more prisoners, and they've criminalized an entire class of people that probably shouldn't be in prison because they're victimless crimes. It's become a national problem for not only ourselves, but also for Mexico. We've created so much strife in Mexico. You know, you can say you're for legalization or not, but at least let's decriminalize the penalties, because that's what's creating a new, it's a coarsening of society, and it's destroying young lives, you see. The new Jim Crow laws, so to speak. There's a new book about it. There are more black young people in jail, man and woman, than during slavery per capita. So it's a form of slavery, these laws.
You said in an interview recently, we have the best weed in the world, we being the U.S. I'm telling you that from my own experience for 40 years. Are you still a fan to this day?
I am, and I think it's a wonderful medical usage is also good, but also, you know, it's part of life, and it's just nothing to be puritanical about. It's certainly less damaging than alcohol, that I can guarantee you. Over a lifetime, I'm in pretty good shape for my age. I can still run a few miles, and I just don't understand this two-toned attitude. It's not to say we have to flout it, but allow people to benefit from good herbs.
Now, I think it's no secret that you have always been very openly anti-establishment, anti-authoritarian, and
not on purpose.
No, not on purpose.
Not on purpose, because the establishment is where
right,
it is.
Exactly. And that stance has been seen in some of your films. That theme has been there. If someone were going to remake one of your films with the opposite stance, with a pro-authoritarian, a pro-establishment, which one would you like to see remade with the opposing viewpoint?
That's a funny question. I wouldn't want to see authoritarianism or support it. I wouldn't even, I don't know what to say, you know. I mean, I did W, and I thought that was a pretty interesting example of how our country, not out of evil motives, but can be so mislead itself by believing in a president that was unqualified, you know. That's, I don't see the answer. I can't answer your question.
Right. Well, W was a surprisingly fair film. I think it surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Stone, it's always an honor to get to sit across from you.
Thank you
so much for your time. I really appreciate
it. Comes on, till the lights go out, till my leg give out, can't shut my mouth, till the smoke clears out, and my eye, I'm a rip, till my phone pull out.